I don't have any of the tunes on today. I was like, oh, the bird songs. We'll just listen to the birds sing this morning and we'll go all natural. And the dryer. I got home yesterday. I don't know, I think it was almost 10. And then got everything undone and everything and put away, started my laundry and stuff. At, I think I went to bed like 10:30 and so much later than what I usually do. And I thought, oh, good, she'll probably conk out. And I got to talk some about how she was this weekend because that's the whole thing. I've got so many things right now and I have no idea where it's going. I just start talking and I just have no idea. So it's probably going to be all over the place because it's definitely like fucking popcorn in my brain going all, it's like so much stuff. Um, but she was, like, I think it was 11:30 was the first. We went to bed. Like I lay down on the couch and listened to the meditation beats or whatever, and she was snoozing, and she was snoring, and so I was like, oh cool, maybe she'll just really conk out and not wake up till late tomorrow, and we'll get a good night's sleep. Oh, no, what is it? But I guess it was like a lot of that energy and stuff. I guess the Schumann has been having some whiteouts. Yesterday, I think there was two. So, and that could, I don't know, I don't know how it is affecting her. I mean, like a lot of things, I feel fine, but it's different. It's like different frequencies hitting. And if you're not at that frequency, it's like the light code. The information comes in, but if you're distracted or you're not willing to accept it or whatever, then you don't notice or whatever. So the frequency changes or uncomfortable. That's why I said that at some point they're going to become, it would become unbearable for people because the energy, the frequency, it would be very isolating. Just how some of us feel like in this awakening, how we feel so isolated, like we just see the world so differently than everybody else. But see, that's like a game of Red Rover, and everybody's coming over to our side except for a very small amount of people, which you don't know if that is the role they're playing or if that was part of what they wanted to experience, to learn. It's just, you can't like, I'm always trying to understand things and what makes people tick and stuff. I'm always like analyzing, and that to some people seems very judgmental and critical, but I'm not doing it as like they're a bad person or they should be damned to hell or something. Like, we all have different perspective over judgment. To me, it is, I don't know, it's the stuff they show me and tell me in my head, and it has been that way for so long that it has been, I mean, it was way back when I was a kid, even. It was like they talked to me about they talked to me about advanced things that, and I don't know. To me, it was real easy to become very in my head, where a lot of people, I always seem like an introvert and shy and an observer. Unless unless you get me one-on-one, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. But I don't go into like a party and get, it can it depends on what the situation is. The people are around you, if they want to hear what you have to say or they don't want to hear what you have to say. It is all a vibration and it's all alignment. It's all already lined up. Like, the people you come in contact with, they're supposed to come in contact at the exact moment you say the exact moment thing you say. So everything goes exactly the way it's supposed to go. We just all sit in judgment of all these different things. But like, oh, it shouldn't be that way. It should be this way. It shouldn't be that way. It should be this way. And I don't feel like I'm looking at things and saying it should be this way or that way. I'm looking at things and saying, this situation, especially some of the stuff that goes on in our social structure at this point, is how these younger generation think like they got it all figured out. They think they're fucking genius, and all these old people, they're just a bunch of ignoramuses. And the ego and the divisiveness, it's like, dude, the only reason you think that's because you haven't gotten to the chopping block yet. You got to get to the side where you have feedback. You got to get, you're still in this part where you're all patting yourselves on the back. Oh, look at all our accomplishments. We're fucking great. It's like, join the older people, find out, like, oh, not everything we did was great. God, we made some fucking foolish mistakes. And it's so funny, like, they can go back and watch, like, old movies and be super judgmental. I can't believe that. I can't believe how they acted. Go and watch some of the stuff that has been out for their movies. It is shameful. Like, I think there is going to be some stuff where people look back like, oh my God. It's like, what did y'all sit around at dinner time and watch porn together? Like, the stuff on TV is outrageous. And so, and it all goes by what people accept. And so it is, it is going to go as far as people allow it. And that's kind of the cool thing right now, is because people are all putting on their brakes. They're starting to be like, wait a minute. The one girl, the code breaker girl I'm always talking about, she's got this red hair. If you ever see her, she's got like this short, like Molly Ringwald kind of hair, and from the 80s or whatever. So she is, she's always doing this code breaking, and so people send her videos and stuff, I guess. And people send me videos. I just don't. I mean, there's I just feel like I've just got to just talk. Like, there's so much stuff to talk about. So anyways, but she was talking about their video, and it is I guess it's supposed to be Kate Winslet accepting an award. I don't know if we just had an award show Sunday or something, but it's supposed to be Kate Winslet accepting an award. I thought what is this month? May. I thought those award shows were like March or something. I don't know, maybe that's March Madness. I don't fucking know. But those, it looked like an award show, and she was accepting an award, only it was not her. In her place, it was like a linebacker. I don't know if they pulled out a clone of hers that they are making into a unisex person or something. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. But anyways, the codebreaker lady was like laughing about it, and she said, aren't they getting so obvious? Like, this is about to get so fun to watch this stuff. Like, but this to me, because being awake for so long, is what I've been saying for so long. Like, it is crazy, some of this stuff that is out there that is so outrageous and so absurd, but the people don't notice. But I've really come to the conclusion they don't notice because they're not supposed to notice. I mean, some of this stuff, like, you can sit there and say something so specific, and it's like it hits a block. It's not supposed to go in. Us trying to force them to listen or understand or see what we see is impossible, and it's part of the process. It's part of what we are supposed to be learning, is not to push what we see on somebody else, to allow everybody to see what they see in this separation in reality. And when we come together, we can create a reality together. But it is the reality that was created before was that without us realize, it was like a separated reality where we were just kind of robotic to one another, just like living on autopilot. And I know it all has, all of it has to do with all, like, the chakras and the energy and the awakening and the moving, but you can't move. Like, people are always like, raise your kundalini, go do this, go do that, and do your breathing techniques and all this stuff. When you're raising your kundalini, it's got to release energy. You have trapped energy in there. And and I could say some stuff about that, but it's probably too graphic. I don't know, maybe sometime. But you have trapped energy down there. And when, in order to raise your kundalini, you have to release that energy. And in order to release energy, you have to process what it is that you're holding on to, what's held back, what's in there. And so much of that trauma has to do with sexual trauma, has to do with being a child. And, it's all from the core, from the center, from the beginning. from the start. So from right at the start, and all of that energy. And so, in order to go through the process, the development of the consciousness, and to raise that energy up through the system, you have to actually do the process. And so, you could go in and do breathing techniques. I don't know for sure. I mean, to me, everything has happened systematically. Like, it's been my guides guiding me through it, talking to me, telling me, and when I'm confused about something, they explain it to me. Like, what trips me out so much is that I just thought that's how everybody lived. To come to find out that that's different than most people live, that has been so eye-opening to me. And I had a conversation about that this weekend. I was talking to my grandson. I got to have some really good conversations with him. And I have talked about before, like, he's super spiritual. He was deep. And, when he went through his thing, he said he's not even into playing the video games now or watching movies or anything. And he's very in the awakening. The stuff he was talking about, the stuff he's interested, it was so cool. He's so deep. And so we got to have a lot of talks. And he asked me something, and I don't know, I will talk about what it is that, I'm processing or something. And so I think that that's what we have to recognize with everybody. Everybody, like, when we're asking people stuff, it's what they're processing is what's going to come to the forefront. So it may not make exact sense to what he said, but to me, it was the answer. So, because he said something about when I was a kid, or something about me knowing, or how did I know, or how did I hear, or whatever. I can't remember. But so I just went back to that story when I was 3. And I said, and I know my age because I had reference, because I asked my mom, because there was not a bunch of times that we were sitting at my grandparents' house where we didn't even go over there. I don't know. It seems like we went to his farm a lot for a while when he was married to Peggy, but there was always tension because he cheated on my grandma and left her for this other woman, and it was just a whole thing. And but I remember going over there, and we went over there a lot of times. But I don't, it could have been once a month for a year. I can remember some different things being there, because I can remember something about the pigs. He had this giant thing of pigs. You weren't allowed to go out by the pigs, because if you fell in, you'd get eaten. And but I'd get to go out to the pigs if he took me out to the pigs. And but anyways, I just remember so specific because we were sitting outside on the patio, and my dad was sitting in a chair holding my brother, and my mom was sitting in this other chair talking to her stepmom. I don't know what my grandpa was doing. It seems like he was maybe standing or something. And I don't know what I was doing. I don't know. Maybe he was talking to me. I don't know. Because I can picture the other things. And so my dad, because my brother was fussing, and he said, go get him a glass of water. And they told me to go into the bathroom, and they have the little Dixie cups by the sink. And they told me to get a glass of water. And I was just like, I was really irritated about it. I was like, I've already got to be doing this shit for him. And so I went in there, and I was like, I got to get even. It's so strange when I think about it, like being 3 years old, because I remember this. I remember all of these things I was thinking. And I went in there, and the soap was sitting there. It just was like perfect. I'm going to put that soap right in his water, swish it around, and let him have some soapy water. Next time, let's see if you ask me to go get your water. And that is when I heard it was so loud in my head. And they said, you're going to get in trouble. And I was kind of like stopped for a second. I can see it, because it was like I was in my third eye too. Because this is stuff like I didn't know what it was, Like, this is where I was saying, like, I was naturally bouncing out of this world without knowing that everybody else wasn't. I thought that was just how we lived. I didn't know that that was different than other people. And so right away, I was in the middle of these two things, these two it was like beings to me. It was like two separate beings that were trying to guide me and give me, it was kind of like give me reference. It was like to, it seems like it was a lot of things to get me trusting, to get to, it was like, it was like my guides. I just know that this is part of my thing. And it was just very much like, okay, come on, Kelly, it's time. And so they started talking to me, and the one was telling me I was going to get in trouble to not do that. And I don't even remember what the other, I know that there was, because I was doing the, I was following that part. Well, I'm still going to do it. And then when I went outside, because I remember that being in the bathroom in this conversation and how loud it was and how much it was so much like these two beings were trying to tell me. And and that is where I thought it was the devil and the angel, because that's the only thing I understood, because my mom was religious. And so the only thing I had reference was the devil and the angel. And so I thought it was one of them. And the reason I'm saying this stuff so much is because I think people need to start thinking in their own minds, because I know that their guides have been trying to talk to them. And once you start listening, it varies in degrees, because all I know is things have expanded, and the more that I have tuned in to what they're saying, and the less I've tuned into what is going on in this other world. And I'm not saying what's not going on, like there's shit going on in our world. I'm not saying that, but there's a difference in living in the rat race. Once you disconnect from that, and so you can the signs and stuff, because it is nonstop. I mean, they're nonstop talking to me, and then you can think, oh, okay, so wait, and a song will come on, or you look over and it'll be a certain number. I mean, it's just constant communication. It's just, I think people don't pay attention, because I seriously don't think that I think that we're all more similar like that. I don't think I'm that strange that this happens. And I think the reason I notice it so much is because I'm supposed to help other people as they are opening their minds and transitioning into this super consciousness or whatever, to understand some of this stuff. And so when they were saying that, and I realized I was having a conversation that wasn't with myself. Like, I'm not 3 years old in there talking myself out of doing something. And so I went outside and gave him the water, and he took a drink of it, and I don't know if he threw it. No, I don't think he threw it, because somehow my dad knew. My dad knew I put soap in it, and I got in trouble for putting the soap in it. And then they told me that I told you were going to get in trouble. And so I would have a conversation. They were always talking to me. They were always chatting with me throughout my life. And I've always been able to hear them, especially when they start talking. And through my awakening, there's been way more talking, way more visitors and stuff like that. My awareness has become more where I don't know, it's like you just can see past the illusion, see past in other realms. You can just pick up on other energies. I don't know how it is. I don't know. I can't say, oh, it's definitely this. I don't know. I just know that it has gone further. Like, I always had an awareness of ghosts, and at the time, I would always think I knew exactly. I would be like, I could just sense things, and I knew exactly. I could envision what it looked like, everything about it, and its story, everything. And for my whole life, everybody just told me I had an active imagination. I was a daydreamer and stuff like that. So I would just think, okay, well, I'm just, I'm got a fantastical memory, or, creative mind or something. So but my instincts, my stuff was always so strong. And that always was weird to people. Like, because I would do things that didn't make sense to other people. It was like, well, that's what my guides, that's, my intuition. I think that's what I would say a lot is my gut instinct, my intuition. It was so strong. I mean, they were all, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't just like I kind of felt this. No, they're in there blabbing their heads off, telling you stuff. And it's just, I think so many people don't want to listen. But if you start paying attention to noticing different times when you're having a conversation that makes no sense, like who the hell are you talking to? You're talking to somebody, and then you're talking to like your advanced self. It'd be like if your younger self were able to, be sitting in their crib, and they probably were at times. It probably, that we as an advanced being probably were in there sitting, comforting them and telling them everything's going to be okay. You're going to get through this and stuff, I think, that's what I knew that I always had them talking to me and stuff. And then even when my mom was feeling all that guilt and stuff, and she was praying about it, and that's the message that she got, is that the kids who are abused are never alone. They've always got, she took it as an angel, because she's religious, that that the angels are with you. But it's like your advanced self. It is your angelic self. It is the side of you that is the spiritual side. And so, it is, an angel, essentially, but it still is you. You're connected to it. It's your energy. And so it's this part of you that goes through all of that, that becomes that is able to care for itself. It's like the circle of life. And so the cool thing is right now is how we can become conscious of this cycle, this circle, this communication or whatever. So we can become aware of it. We can go back, we can talk to our younger self and tell our younger self, like so many people do all these different things. They go in and rescue their younger self. They go in and just talk to their younger self. They go in and, make their younger self happier. And that is real because it's in you. It's not outside of you. It's inside of you. Oh yeah, I want to say that too, because so my one daughter who turned 40 today, my oldest daughter turned 40 today, and that's so crazy. Like when you start having kids that are, in their 40s, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. But anyway, so she sent me a Mother's Day present, and I just got it last night when I got home. And oh my God, it is so cool. It is these prisms, this stone, and these jewel things hanging for a window thing. And I had a whole thing with that too. Like it's really, it's cool because I always know the stuff before. I just know, like I can touch something and I can just know. It's weird, but that is what I'm saying. It's like, it just happens. It's not, I think some people have to, you have to work it out. But I'm saying, like, where people tell you, well, you have to do your breath work. You have to do your meditation an hour a day. You have to eat vegan. You have to, all of that kind of the rules where they tell you what you have to do and stuff. No, you just have to listen. You just listen to your instincts, to your gut. And even if you can't hear who's guiding you really loud, there's speaking to you. Your body signals you. It will become uncomfortable or it will become peaceful. And and then there's signs all around you all the time. They want to talk to you as much as you want to talk to them, because I think a lot of people want to talk to them. But they don't know, it's hard because there's so much going on in the world. And now, they're going to block the sun up here right now with fires. And I was like, oh my God, as soon as it gets nice out and people start going outside, they start the fucking fires and blocks the sun. I'm telling you, I felt so good laying in the sun. It was like, oh my God, I felt like I was just absorbing so much energy. It is like, I don't know, you get light codes and shit. It's like, and then when I saw the Schumann resonance and I'm just laying out there absorbing it all. And you should have seen yesterday how red my face has been for the past 2 days. And I just kept putting the black seed oil and the castor oil on it. Even when I was sitting out by the pool, I would go inside and I just kept putting it on and putting it on and putting it on. And I swear to God, my eyes were just disappearing into a little red, it was so red. And my daughter was like, oh, I bet you wish you had the sunblock on now, don't you? And I was like, oh, you want me to have face cancer? My one grandson, and because my one daughter, she's so much like how I used to be, very driven, very rigid, and rule driven and stuff. But she's really working hard on breaking it. And it's really cool. And we had some really cool, I got to have some insight into me. And there's more stuff I'll be able to talk about that if I don't get to it today, because it was really, really cool. And I know it's what other people are going through. So maybe what I'm about to talk about, I don't know. But I got to finish what I was saying. But yeah, the thing with the prism thing, when I was hanging it up last night, it had or this morning I was looking at it, and it has just like isn't that called a facet of a diamond? All of the facets, I'm sure it's called facet of a diamond, all of the flat edges all over that give out all of the color. And so this one is like that. It's like this big jewel looking thing with all of those, and so all of these colors. But the way it was in the window this morning, just how the light was reflecting, it was so much like a mirror. And so it had all of these it had this really cool, like a color, like if you think about an aura or something, this really cool red background color coming through it. And then it was all of these flat surfaces that weren't, I mean, you would look at them like it was a TV or something, all showing different screens of different pictures of, but it was all reflection. I was like, oh my God, see, that is like what we are. That is like how they show me the bubble, and then the iridescent, all the color that comes through, and the way it was reflecting with all of the flat surfaces, all of the different imagery, and every movement makes a new design, a new picture in the thing. That is just so much like that is exactly, I mean, that's exactly what they are always showing, is in the sense of where I said of you being a bubble and coming out of in these different, but also it is that projection, that reflection, that imagery of seeing all the different parts of you on the micro macro, because you're so much more than just this life. But just seeing all parts of you in who you are in this life is part of this expansion. But it's also, you need to see all parts of you from all different lives. But that also has to open up, and that's also a big part of opening your mind, because so many people have been told reincarnation is ridiculous, it's stupid, and then even people who start believing in reincarnation, they still don't understand that it isn't. They still talk, so many people, like even when you listen to some spiritual people, they'll still be talking so much about like, this is a globe, we're on space, we're flesh and blood, our soul does this, and all of this kind of stuff. They just talk on this level that is still, it is like, it's like the view of what it is through a second grader's eyes or something. Like they're going to go way further into their understanding. Like that is there's still so many things holding back your view when all the parameters, all of the paradigms, all of the structure hold you back from being able to see. And so I don't know, the more you see, the more it just opens up, the more you can go out, but then you want to pull back, because even when you go out, you know how people say, like, if you go back to source, it's the purest love and stuff like that. But when I heard that, Stephen, oh man, what is his name? It's on the Gaia channel. I've talked about him so many times. He's on that show. This is always forget names. And see, and then I tell myself that, and so I block myself, and they can be sitting here telling me, and then I sit there, and this is how you got to shut your mind down, is, so I tell myself I can't remember. So then I start spinning out on that, like, oh gosh, dang it, I can't remember. How do I remember that name? Blah, 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 and start feeding myself that information rather than just shut it down and listen and have them tell me. So a lot of times people don't understand how they're blocking themselves from being able to hear the information because you're running a program. And so, anyways, but it's all, learning. It's all just noticing these things and developing and just doing better. That's all it is. It is, people don't take things way too serious. And, dang it, what was I going to say? Okay, well, that maybe ended because what popped into my head was the stuff with the one daughter that has been going through it. So it is interesting because the night before, I was thinking it's so crazy because one daughter is the only one who has never cut me out of her life. And even she lived with me. Even after the older girls had moved out, had their own families. And then the one kept running away. And so I said, you're going to have to stay with your dad then because you can't just every single time I punish you, you're just going to run away from home. And it was like, she just, she wouldn't go to school. She was just being really out of control. And when he wasn't, I had asked him, but he was in his deepest part of his drinking. And, even though my daughter holds that against me that I put her through, but she was also living with my ex-best friend. I mean, she was living in a family situation. She had her kid, she had 3 boys, and we had met in nursing school. And so he was living with her, and she was supporting his habit for a long while, I think. And then she left on vacation and didn't leave him anything, and he went into withdrawals. And he told the girls he almost died. They were freaking out, and they were coming home and telling me. And but he lived, and it affected him. He stopped drinking. He's never drank since. And but she holds that against me, like I was just blowing her off because I wanted to go out with guys and stuff like that. I was like, no, I really thought I was doing the best for her because she wouldn't listen to me. And then she just kept fighting. She wouldn't go to school. And then she would, I would try and tell her something. She would be so rude to me that, then my husband at the time would step out. Don't talk to your mom that way. Oh, fuck you. It would turn into this like, oh my God, this is out of control. And so, when she would run away from home, I was like, okay, if you're not going to bring her back and make her stay grounded, make her have to deal with the punishment, then you are going to have to keep her there too. She has to have consequences. You can't grow up with no consequences. How do you learn? And but he was in his active alcoholism at the time, so which was a good thing. But the thing is a soul. When I can look back, I can see things that played out the way they were supposed to play out. I can see the obstacles that are put before people. I can see the things that everybody has to overcome. But part of my challenges is to not, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear. So it is so much of me just sitting back and watching, and there's so much stuff that you sit back and watch it play out. And it's so crazy is how I always knew things ahead of time. And I would say, oh, I'm psychic, but I didn't really know, like, and not until I went and started watching those channelers when I was like, when I started getting really into the spiritual stuff. And I tried the tarot and the QHHT. I was like, I got something, but teacher kept nagging at me. But I got, what do I know? And then I started watching a lot of videos. And that's when I started realizing what I knew, because I started hearing what other people were saying. I was like, what? What are they talking about? I was like, okay, more information has to get out there. We can't just be just a certain people's information. There has to be more information. People have to have more context, more reference. People have to have, a bigger selection to go out and make their choices, to understand this place, and to understand who and what they are, their purpose, what they're doing, and so anyways, that's when I could see, the point of me talking. But then there's, all the stuff you have to get over and go through as you're healing, and it's raising your Kundalini. Like, and I, when doing this was a part of the throat chakra one, and it's been that was a huge thing for me for so many reasons to do that one. There's like so much stuff that comes up when you're doing these, when you're raising your Kundalini. It is the healing process. It isn't just like, oh, go meditate, raise your Kundalini, and then you're spiritual. What? No. And I found that out by doing the work. I knew, I was doing the work before all of that, dime store shit started being talked about, because it isn't like that. Like, and now that is being pointed out by a lot of people too, these love and light people who are just, oh, you can't focus on that. Don't focus on anger. Don't. So they're not processing. They're not healing. They're just, burying their head in the happy sand so that they don't have to deal with anything and think they're doing the right thing. Maybe they're doing the right thing for them. They're doing the thing they're supposed to do. They're doing what they came to learn. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It means that they're going to be impacted by what they did. We're all going to be impacted by our choices, by what we do, what we say, how we think, what we're putting out there, the energy we're putting out. Like I've said a zillion times, the energy we're putting out, when it flips back, that energy is going to come back on us. It isn't like there's so many people who are out there putting out so much negative energy, and that is, it's going out. But when the things flip, and it's going to flip, it's flipping, it's going to flip. And when it flips, that energy that everybody's been putting out is going to come back and hit them like a wave. And so that's why it's important to be putting out a healthy energy. And I had just, I was sitting out by that pool. It was so nice. Oh my God. I was like, this is the best way to have a vacation. Get all your family, get a big old giant Airbnb with a pool. And then you just have, it's like a private hotel. And then you have a kitchen, people can cook. Everybody has their own rooms. It's just, oh my gosh, people can stand up and play games. It was really fun. It was such a good time. Even though it was just a few days, it felt like a real vacation. It was really, really cool. It was like time it just was on our side. It was really fun. And I got to have so many good conversations. But now I'm skipping around again. Let me see what Stefan, the guy on the Gaia channel, Stefan, his initiation is his show. And and this is why people need a lot of information, because you got to hear a lot of stuff, and you may feel something and may not feel other things. Just like when I was doing the tarot, I was like, and I was just like, okay, this just stuff feels like I'm supposed to be doing something else. This is not satisfying. Doing the QHHT, it was like, okay, this is interesting, but this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I knew I was supposed to be doing something different. And so, that is, switching in and start doing this. But it was not even starting just like, oh, well, I'm going to go do a YouTube. That took a while. It took years where I was like, I'd put out feelers. I think I'm going to do a YouTube. Because all I had ever heard was people just saying it's, talking weird about it. Like, I don't know. I never heard anything really positive about it. And so, but then it was in 2020 when I went on, and it was because I was so isolated, and there was I was trying to figure out, what stuff. And I was already going on to it anyways when I was looking up about Dolores Cannon. No, what was it? I looked up something, and that is, I think, how I found Dolores Cannon videos. Was I was searching something. I wanted to see a video about something, and then all this stuff came up. And so, That's when I started seeing like, oh my gosh, like there's so much cool stuff on YouTube, and that YouTube became my favorite thing. I go on YouTube for anything. Oh, my lawnmower's broke, going on YouTube. Like I would use YouTube all the time for everything. And I was constantly talking to my, oh man, YouTube's so cool. And they'd always be like, so when I decided I was gonna do one, I was like, okay, but there was so much pressure inside of me. It was like I was fighting something. And see, this is where my kids don't get it because they think it's coming from outside of me. They think like, oh, mom's trying to become like a YouTube star, or mom's trying to become famous. No, I'm being pressured from the inside. They are telling me, this is what you got to do. This is what, and that's what I'm saying. Things are destiny. Like they will tell you which direction to go, but you got to be listening. You got to be and be connected to your gut instinct. And did I already say there was gonna be all these fires now in the fucking right up above me in Canada? Because I saw a video and it was like, okay, be prepared, all the smoke, stay inside, and all this stuff. The fires are so bad, and right above me in Canada, of course. And so when that thing that it shows, it comes right down here, and every fucking time it does, it grays out the sun. Like the sun, sometimes it will turn bright red, and sometimes it will turn gray, but there's no rays coming in. Like everything is so smoky. Oh, I can hear a cat out there running around. She's sleeping. It's got to be Bert because Bert wears a little bell thing. He's out there running around. I think they try and get the birds because I've always got birds in this. But I know that he's got squirrels and stuff in his yard, but I don't know why he's always in here. But you know what I just saw too of this video that I'm going to for sure do is I feel like I'm always doing these experiments because now I'm like, I got to do more research on this boron. Could this be what's causing her to have more problems? Is I'm like giving her something she doesn't need? Like, ugh, I don't know. So well, I'm just as mad scientist as the rest of them. I'm not letting just nature do its thing. And that was one thing too I would tell my daughter about with the sunblock is I would say, I'm just going natural. I'm going nature to nature. I'm natural. The sun's natural. I don't need a chemical interference in between. And so my grandson, he kept hearing these conversations when my daughter kept harassing me about sunblock because I was turning so red and stuff. And I was like, it gives you cancer and stuff. And so my grandson looked it up. So then he goes, oh my gosh, I heard you saying that. So I went and looked it up. And then I saw, Grandma's right. That's what it says right here. And so he was like, but I thought how cool. Because he wasn't there that one day when, the last trip, when I was getting harassed. And I said, go look it up. Don't sit here and harass me. Go look it up. I'm not just making shit up. And he wasn't even there. And so, see, that's the thing. It is like people have it in them. It's like a natural thing, and and it will start happening for more and more people. Some people will be because of a humiliation of something happening. There's going to be so much about people following other people's paths and stuff like that. And nobody should feel bad about that. Like, I think it's part of human, like a human evolution. Like when you pay attention, like we need each other. We need this reflection. We need because to try and understand who and what we are is the whole thing. Oh yeah, and that's what that Stefan DeStefano, Matthias DeStefano, that is what he was saying about when you go up into the highest of vibrations where you think of source. He said, there is no there's nothing. He said it is a vast emptiness because there's no judgment. There's nothing there. And that is the place where a soul begins to say, who and what am I? So that is where you come from source to begin the questioning, who and what am I, as an energy, so that you can then begin to understand who and what you are. And that is the incarnation. But the incarnation, to me, it is best to understand is like go into a library and just, how many books can you read in a lifetime? That is the same thing as every incarnation. It's just like a book. It's like a reference. It's like material for your soul, your essence, your DNA to absorb. so that it has more understanding. So when it goes in the next life, it's not racist because it learned all about racism in this life, or it goes to the next life and it learned about love in this life. Like it carries those things. It carries its memories. And that's why you have that available to you, past life memory and stuff. But you have to access it. You have to trust it. You have to understand you're an eternal being, not a flesh and blood accident to this world. And so, anyways, I wanted to though say something about the one daughter, because the one who has not ever cut us out, and so then the one that I have said, because she's so challenging, she always has been ever since she was really little. She is when I started realizing, oh, because they told me. It was, it was a situation. It was once my healing started. Before I would battle with her, we would battle. We can still go, and she would. But it was once I started doing my awakening when they started telling me she was there. She comes in these times to help me grow. So everything that she's doing that challenges me is so I can grow that. I can, and that is where I say she's taught me so much on boundaries, of me having to set boundaries, especially with somebody who you love so much as your daughter. You absolutely adore them. You want to give them everything that you could possibly give them, and but you have to, as a people will always take from you what it isn't theirs to have when you're willing to give everything. So you have to put up boundaries. You have to be defined in who you are. And when you come from troubled lives, and most of us don't have that, and that is why we're so toxic with one another and so angry at one another. And because we want to be accepted, but we can't accept ourselves. And so we think if these people will like us, then we can like ourselves. That has to come from inside. And that's why so many of these groups are falling apart, because they were groups that people held on to for their identity. And so everything that people hold on to for an identity has to collapse, because you have to see who you are without having these identifiers as a group like that. You have to become strong and independent in your own state of being. But so my daughter has been going through so much stuff, and she feels very judged, and it is a switch around, because she was always so together. She was the perfect, driven, she was very driven. And even though she was a middle child, she's the second, because the older girls had different dad. So she's the first child of this dad who's very driven he's very defined. And even though he right now is on this big thing about there's no black and white, and he calls it, not being, you got to be non-binary or something in how you view things. You can't be black or white. You can't be, and so he is real on that kind of thing in his growth right now. But back when they were kids, yeah, he was very black and white. And so that is in their core. That is one of their things to have to get over. That is a part of their, the hand they were dealt. And I dealt them a bad hand too. I'm not going to sit there and act like I did fucking good. I was a damaged, broken girl who was just trying to make in life. And, I wasn't out trying to get pregnant. A lot of people aren't. And that's why they run to a clinic when it happens. But I knew, because of my guidance, I knew that when something like that happens, that's what's supposed to happen. It's your next thing. You're supposed to go with what is happening. And so I knew that was it. But when everything kept going so bad, it's like I couldn't understand. Like I was like, man, there was so much time in my life where I was just like, God damn, how am I this broken and living this such a broken life? Like, how do you get better? How do you live a normal life? How do you get, like, everything always seemed like other people had it easier or something. And that was one of the cool things I think is part of the awakening, is just seeing, no, people were just putting on a front. You know, so many people, like people sit there and look at couples and go, oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're so perfect. And then you go and you watch these women's TikToks and it's like, hell, like what? There's one of, I've got way too many things going on in my head. Sorry about this, but there's one girl, and I have talked about like I feel bad to laugh at these videos where these people exploit their kids, but there's these ones that they do. There's very exploitive, but they do these vlogs of their kids. So they do their kids, and they do these there's this voiceover, I don't know, kind of is offensive because kind of sometimes I think it sounds like me, but there's this, I don't know, kind of a weird raspy kind of voice or something, and so they'll put it for their kids, and so I don't know, it's like Edward G. Robinson or something talking for their kids or something. But anyway, so he but they'll do funny things, and like the one, she's always just cussing her head off, and the kid is always like having a fit and doing this or doing that, and they're really funny because it'll be like, and that stupid bitch put my fucking shoes over there, like it'll just say funny things, and it's so inappropriate, but I can't help but laugh. And then but the other day, this was like, oh my God, this is really kind of disgusting. Is so it was the little girl's second birthday. There's fucking people out there who have got no food, no home, and you're doing an elaborate birthday like this for a fucking 2-year-old. I mean, it looked like you spent some people's rent on balloons alone. I mean, there was a fucking balloon that was like ginormous. Like these giant balloons. It was so fucking fancy. I couldn't believe it. And it would look like it was like in a hotel or something. I don't even remember. It was just all this video, and it was so over the top. And I was like, oh my God, this is a 2-year-old. Like, you're doing this for a 2-year-old. Like, that is wacky, man. And so I just really, that is what I'm saying, is the awakening has the absurdity. So even if, I'm sitting there watching those and being like, oh my God, I know this is so wrong. These people should not be using their kids for likes and views and trying to get popular by, using their kids. Like, that's what we're fighting in this system, the use of kids and people who don't have a say. And so, and then, when you see that, it's the absurdity. It's the disgusting, like, oh, God, that is gross. And, we all have to have those moments, those lines that we all have. We all have our own lines in the sand. And we all have to have those moments as we're breaking free from all of this stuff. As, that absurd, like, oh, what? Gross, what? And, that's why I keep saying there's just all this weird stuff. But so many people, especially the ones who are really stuck, on government. I've seen a lot now going, okay, this is just getting stupid. I just can't do this anymore. But, the ones who really get stuck, who just break it down and, where we're headed and what's going to go, because they don't see what's really going on. And they're just totally living in fear. But there's so many that are just constantly like, they're sure we're all about to be in camps and stuff. And it's like, no, that is all, to show us where we were headed, where the world was going when we were all just running around being slaves. It was not headed in a good direction. And now, as the energy shifts back on these people and they're being exposed, all of the energy, this gross ass, the one guy who always comes in my mind, you'd think it'd be Klaus, but it's that other little weaselly guy. Man, when I hear that guy, how he talks about us, he disgusts me. Humans have no benefit. Unless we're going to be being coded like a computer. It's like, dude, why don't we just code you as a computer? Why don't we do all this stuff you want to do to us? Why don't we do it to you and let us play with the switches? Like, fuck off, dude. And, but those people, they're going to be, it is going to be so much death penalty, like so much. Like, man, I heard that story the other day about the 10-year-old out running around in that town in Georgia and looking for food, trying to get a ride to a grocery store, 36 pounds, and being locked up since 2020 in his bedroom is a torture chamber, no bathroom, no, I don't even know how he got out. Like, I don't know the whole story yet. I probably won't even listen because I just, man, there's so much gruesome stuff, man. The dark side of people is coming out so dark. And I knew it was going to come, you know? And I know this is a release, and I know that it's just so gross. But the charges that those people are facing, those are fucking right out of those executive orders. There is going to be so many people who are going to be facing those kind of things that are just neighborhood people. I'm telling you, stuff is going to be wild. I think it's going to be intense. Oh yeah, because that one video where I had said about the awakening and not being rude to people, and this one person came in there saying all this stuff. Well, I really want, a lot of people just want to say, like, I told you so. And it's going to be the worst thing to do, to tell people, especially to me, a lot of people are like, well, they've been so mean to us. Yeah, but that is part of what's going to hurt them so bad. That is going to hurt them so bad. People don't realize that the shame and stuff they're going to feel, it's going to be so deep. That is why it's not where you sit there and like kick them while they're down, man. And that would be essentially what people would be doing. And I would think a lot of the people who have been going through this, who have been going through some healing, would have more compassion than that. There is going to be people who are going to be kicking people while they're down, and that's going to lead to mass suicide. And this darkness, though, that is all coming out. But all the things, this is one thing, that no matter what, all the things are destined. They're all meant to happen exactly the way they happen. Nothing is happening different than the way it's supposed to happen. It's all exactly precise to the second. And so there's no reason to be concerned or something. Even yesterday while I was driving, which was a cool ass drive, and I still haven't finished about my daughter, and I still haven't even finished about this drive. This drive was cool because I was leaving so late and I didn't want to go through the Seattle traffic, and I was trying to figure out a different way. And my ex told me to go up through that little German town and go through that pass. And it had a lot more time on the Apple map, but then he pulled up the Google one, and it took a different direction, I guess, because it cut out 45 minutes. And so then I was like, well, yeah, that makes more sense to go ahead and do this one then, because the chances of me hitting, I couldn't believe when I was on my way there how many traffic stops I saw where the traffic was just dead ass stopped for miles. And I was like, man, those people are sitting there for a fucking hour. Like, it is just sitting there and sitting there. I was like, that, man, when you're hitting those things on the way home, it can take you 6 hours easy for a 4-hour drive. And it's that intense stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. And so this was just those out mountain roads. And so no traffic, beautiful. Plus you're going through those portals of time, and it was really cool. The drive was really nice. And is that all I was going to say about that? It seemed like there was something else I was going to say about that. There was some other things, so I'll probably say about those later. But I wanted to say that about my daughter, because, she been going through all of this stuff of, switching from being perfect, and she feels pressure, like she has to be perfect, or, people won't like her, or her parents, will put pressure on her and stuff like that. And so the one daughter who's really good with boundaries, well, she's put in our family to help everybody with their boundaries, because she just has her own way of thinking. And, but this is what I have noticed, that each member of a family brings a certain energy. And when you can accept the energy, even though it's something that's not familiar, or it may go not in alignment with something, when they bring in that energy, if you can absorb it or grow with it, or understand it or perceive it or something. I don't know what word to use, but it can become a part of your inner knowing too. So it can become a part of so even though it's something that she has learned through her life, that her bringing it into our family structure, and if you go talks, in which it's a lot easier to do in these times, is fighting people when they don't are different than you, instead of just learning from them, then that can become a part of you, if that makes sense. But so when we were out there talking, and my one daughter, she was saying, and I always override everybody. I drive everybody crazy because, yeah, you get me in a small, intimate thing, I don't shut up. I don't shut up. So I have a really hard time, stopping. Like, I have to sit there, okay, stop, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. And it's like, focus, listen to what they're saying, shut up. There's so much going. I'm telling you, I got the Starship Enterprise up in here. It's like a party going on, and it's like, don't talk, shut up, I'm trying to hear. And but anyways, so they'll tell me, okay, stop talking, Mom. And so the one daughter was, who's trying to break free. She's talking about the pressure that she feels from how, to please her mom and dad, and that she feels like she's judged if we do this, if she doesn't do this. Like we tell, like she said, for instance, is like on her bills. She said, if Dad knew I was in debt. And she was talking to her sister, but she knew I was sitting there listening. She goes, if Dad knew I was in debt, he would tell him, shame on you. You need to do this. You need to do that. That's stupid, And Mom would say, fuck that. It's not even real. Don't even pay it. And she goes, so I've got these two extreme. And she goes, it's hard. And so the daughter, who's really good with boundaries, telling her, you got to stop trying to please them. It doesn't matter. She said, I stopped when I was little. She goes, I don't know when, but I knew from a long time. And that's what I've said. She did. That's no joke. That was an energy that she has brought in. And she was like, I'll make my own mistakes. I'd be like, don't do that. That is like when she got pregnant at 17, she decided she's going to quit high school. But her soul knew what I was supposed to do. Her soul knew. It didn't matter what I was saying. She knew, and she had to do what she had to do. And me telling her, the smart thing to do, the wise thing, and stay here, go to school, I'll help you, all that stuff. No, she was supposed to go out and do this other thing. That was her life journey. And she wasn't supposed to listen to me. She wasn't supposed to play it safe. She was supposed to listen to herself. And she had to come in strong with that because she was, going hard. And so she can carry that energy. And so she can help her sisters. And her sisters, like the one who's not speaking to me, one of the biggest things is because she always feels like I'm judging her. And it's like they don't realize that you are judging you. You think it's me because something I said when you're 10 years old. So you think I'm in there judging you, but it's you replaying that, judging yourself. And just like I had said, like my ex, he was one way, 40 years ago. He's completely different now. Like people don't stay the same. They change, they grow, hopefully, if given the proper opportunity. But you got to have other people who, see the benefit of healing and growing, wanting to try something different, trying to not argue and fight and stuff. Like I feel really proud of the fact that, like this, I think you would still be co-parenting, even though the kids are all grown. But I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on the kids and the grandkids when the parents or the grandparents are divisive. Like, oh, no, we can't be in the same room. No, we can't do that. I mean, you can have little family reunions all the time when you can get along with the people and everybody get together and, it's a fun time. So it isn't, I think it's healthy. And even though I'm sure there's a lot of people, be like, go hang out with your ex and your grandkids and your kids and stuff. Like, I would fight. I can't be around them. And, who knows? Everything is temporary. Who knows if it's going to last forever? Nothing does. Everything changes. Everything is always changing. And everything has to adapt to change if it wants to continue to grow. And so, but everything can be triggers to different people. So, for their own health, for their own benefit. So, the different things that happen in people's lives throughout the day is for those things to trigger you to grow and stuff. And so, and my youngest daughter, I don't judge her. She needs to cut me out of her life to figure out who she is. I completely understand. Like, that is, what some people need in order to develop. She needs to cut my voice out. It's too strong in her head. And that is what the one daughter who's good with the boundaries was saying about that you need to not worry about what your parents think of you. You need to not worry about what other people think of you. So that is where, we really got to get in on some good conversations about, everything is perspective. Everybody's different opinions. You can't, and nobody knows anybody's life journey. Nobody knows what you experienced to give you the opinion or the perspective you have. And when you're asking people for their opinion and their perspective, you're basing it on their life experience. And if you discard your own for somebody else's, so we got to have really a lot of good conversations. And the one daughter who is struggling, I kept talking, apparently. And so she was just like, and she went back in, and I said something, this is because I said, you're the only one who has never cut me out, who has always been there. And that's when she goes, and the other daughter goes, Mom, that is exactly the whole thing. She should be able to cut you out. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is putting pressure on her to say, like, yeah, you got to be perfect. You can't cut me out. And so I was like, yeah, that's right, man. That is like me putting pressure on her to, you have to be the one child who never stopped talking to me. It's like, that's kind of a dick. Like, she should get to cut me out too. I mean, if she needs to go out so I told her this morning, I just sent the message. She didn't see it till this morning. But I said, if you need to cut me out of your life to find yourself and stuff, it's okay. I'm not going to take it, I wouldn't ever think she hated me or anything. I think it would be hard. She's the one who calls me and wants my opinion, where I'm trying to, tell her, you got to focus on your opinion. What do you think about it? So I had been working on that, telling her that stuff for so long, but see, people don't realize that the voices you hear is you replaying records, and especially you're replaying some oldies in a lot of cases. And so I said, you can cut me out, it's okay. Which is even more like, here, you have my permission. You can cut me out. It's like, oh God, Kelly, you're so annoying. So I was, she's like, no, I don't need to cut you out. But I was like, I know your dad and I are strong energies, and we do have loud voices, and we do have opinions, and they are very different from one another. And it's okay, but you don't have to do what I say, but, at least you have a lot of reference, even though I know the stuff I'm saying, like about debt and stuff, like I know that, but that will be stuff that she'll figure out and find out, the debt is going away. It's not real. Like the stuff I've been saying where they think I'm just making this shit up. No, I'm following these things. I've been following them for a while. And so but, I can't sit there and put, no, I know I'm right. Well, I have voices in my head. They tell me. It's like, yeah, we know you have voices in your head, Mom. So I was like, but I was like, we do have loud opinions on things, and that is a big energy. And so those are, that is your challenge. You have to quiet those voices and begin to develop your own, figure out who you are. How do you feel about things? Not how do your parents feel about things. How do you feel about things? And so, and the cool thing is, with these daughters I have, of the conversations and stuff, it just gives me so much more insight, which helps me to explain things so much more because, it's, I can see the things, how things are working and the talking and stuff. So anyways, it is really, really cool. And it is helping her so much more with her spiritual stuff. And she said, for the first time in her life, because she has this new partner, and I think she's getting some judgment on that because it was too fast from, I don't want to tell somebody else's business, but so even though I'm always talking about other people, but there's certain things that is like, yeah, but that's somebody else's stuff where other people, in relationships and stuff. It's not like she was cheating on her husband or anything. She knew the person from work. But that happens a lot. People come into your life that are supposed to come into your life, and people leave your life when they're supposed to leave your life. And sometimes it hurts really much. But, after I was talking so much about the stuff I got to get done around here, all of a sudden, my son-in-law, the one who is the daughter who I'm talking about, the husband, that he did text me all of a sudden and say, that he wanted to come up for a weekend and do some project, help me around the house or whatever. And I said, I've got this situation in the bathroom. He said, maybe I could get some more guys to come. I said, I'd love to just hire you. And then he was like, no, you don't have to pay me. But then when I said to my daughter, well, he's going to come and he said about doing the work, the face she made, I thought, oh, he doesn't want to come here and do work. He wants to just come and hang out. And I felt bad because I always, whenever they would come, he would always go outside and just start looking for projects. He would go up on my roof, start sweeping my roof, or he would just go out and look for stuff that needed to be done. And so I always thought that's kind of like a guy thing. Guys like to be doing something. So I would always try and think of like, okay, well, when they're coming, I have a different project. Like, if he wants to go out and he's looking for something to do, I'll be like, oh, I got that thing over there if you want to work on that for a while. But I didn't want him to feel like I was putting pressure on, like, oh, you have to do this. I need you to come so you can do this, because that's not it. Yeah, I do definitely appreciate the help from somebody. Hell yeah. I wish that all of them could see the benefit of this place being the Airbnb. But, I don't know how things are supposed to go. I just know I'm supposed to be here during this time. I don't know what's to come next. None of us do. And that is like, you can't attach to something so much. You got to be in the flow. Like, if you think about it, even as energetically as going down a river, and you want to grab hold of a stone or something and hold on, you're holding on as everything keeps going and keeps flowing. So you got to stay in the flow of the energy. Otherwise, you're just holding yourself back. And so, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said before, it's like I feel like I was free falling, but now I feel like the parachute's pulled. I don't feel like I'm falling fast. I feel like I'm gliding down into wherever it is I'm supposed to land. But none of us know. But that is one thing, and this is something my kids don't understand either when I tell them, is, that I'm, the door will open. I don't have to beat on the doors. I know the door will open. The right door will open when it is supposed to open. I'll be able to go through it, and then it will be into the next chapter, the next phase, and I do think that this thing that is going to be happening is going to be big. And the reason I say that is just, when I sit here, for how much they tell me and all the things they want me to tell. And then you go on and you see, like, there's only a few people who ever see this stuff. I really think that it's going to be like a bunch of people like me out there that are all of a sudden, it's going to be that they're going to be heard, and it's going to seem like, where'd they come from? And it's like, we're here. We're just not being able to be heard. We're going to be heard at the right time. Like, when the timing is right, when the people are ready for the information's going to be there. And so it's going to be all of a sudden like a bunch of people giving information right at the perfect time. That's how I see it. That's what I think is going to happen. And I don't know, you know, how it's all going to play out. I don't know my part. I know things that they tell me and stuff. And so that is, you know, it'll be, it'll be fun when we get to the other side, because I want to talk more about the things they told me and how they told me what they told me, because I think that is a big part of what I'm supposed to help people be able to do for themselves, is start being in communication with the universe in a way that, you know, if somebody's listening to me, then it would be, you know, because they're interested in trying to figure out how to do that communication, just like I was when I went on and was like listening to the channelers when I wasn't getting it from the tarot, wasn't getting it from the QHHT. And I was like, man, you know, just, you know, channeling. I just feel like I understand. Like, I understand there's ghosts. I understand that aliens aren't monsters. Like, I feel like I understood all this stuff. I felt like, you know, channeling. And so it was when I went on and started listening to all the different channelers and what they were talking about. And on that, the Moore show, because he started doing interviews with channelers, how they figured out they were channelers, because he had the same thing, and where he figured out. And that is how I figured out. Like, I had no idea that what I was doing was different what other people were doing. I thought like everybody could hear the universe the same. And so then that is when you go on and you start seeing, oh, okay, so this is called channeling. This is a medium. If you're talking to certain beings or whatever, and you're channeling. And so that is the same thing as being psychic, because they tell you things ahead. And so, you know, that is, and so I don't, that it just was natural to me. That's why I think I'm supposed to talk about, to get people so that they can hear and start seeing it in themselves, so that they can connect to themselves. Because it's all about connecting to yourself and healing. And I mean, the whole way I've been able to do my healing was my guides. My guides took me through it. I didn't have a counselor or anything. And just my guides talking to me and telling me and explaining things. And, you know, and it's like, to me, it's like you have a personal psychiatrist with you at all times. But, you know, I don't, but that is also, it's a refined communication, because I hear people all fucking day long where they'll say something and I'll think, this is your ego talking. And but there is so much voice, there's so much in your mind, and that is a big part of why I know why people say you got to quiet your mind, you got to quiet it. And the quieting is your thought processes, your overthinking, you're thinking about what you're thinking about, you know. You just got to close that down. You just got to be like, okay, close it down, and just it just gets quieter, so you can hear and you can notice the different sounds, the different voices, the different energies. And you know, and sometimes they come with imagery. You can feel them, and you can see them, you can hear them, all of it. So, you know, it's all just a process. And I know that's another thing too, is I know I'm not crazy. And there's so many people who can do that kind of stuff who think they're crazy, because this world will tell them they're crazy. And you're not crazy. A crazy person is somebody who can't take care of themselves, that is so lost and so confused in reality that they can't even take care of themselves. So, you know, if you can take care of yourself, just because you're speaking to people who aren't there, doesn't make me or crazy. And if you have awareness of dark energy compared to light energy, then that's even more advancement. You know, it's and so schizophrenics, when they're so caught up in the, because I don't think I've met any that didn't have that. There's something, a religious aspect. And the same thing is to me is like when I was 3 years old, and the only thing I could understand was devil and angel. And that's why I think that they speak so much like that. It was the devils and the angels. They're always talking like that. And the devils are always mean and trying to get them. And the angels are always like, oh, man, some of the crazy stuff that these people have experienced, like, there's been lots of crazy stuff. And sometimes they start trying to tell you, and it is so hard to understand. It's like, and then the seeds, they start coming out of my belly button, and then they start coming out, and then they started becoming beings, and like all this stuff. It's like, And that can be, a being that is just in there messing with their minds too. That's why you have to, discernment. And discernment it's a daily practice. When you start paying attention to communication, you got to pay attention to how you feel about the communication. How does it sit with you? What do you feel about it? How do you think about it? And, then you gotta, like, it's like absorbing it and letting your consciousness express how it feels about it or something through your gut instinct, through your heart chakra or whatever. You'll feel, your body will respond, and your body is still separate. That is how cool that it is. Your energy can be in here into the body and be able to communicate with you through the body sensations. And so it is important, when I'm always saying you got to listen to your body and stuff, it's important to tune into those, because your sensations and all of that is speaking to you. And so, anyways, I've been talking a long time, and I've got a lot more things I could be saying. But anyways, everything is shifting. Everything is, and we're at this time. I know the energy is getting close to coming back on us. I just feel like it's really getting close. And tomorrow's this 19th, and I don't know. I heard the 19th. I think in a couple different things. I know. I'm positive one of them was the time traveler, saying that the 19th, was it the time traveler? My stomach keeps growling. The 19th was going to be economic collapse in America. So, and that's tomorrow. I swear to God, there's so many dates. There's every weekend. Every weekend I'm holding on. Oh, maybe this is the one. And I don't even know. I mean, it could happen in the middle of the week. It could happen today. I don't know. Anything can happen. But when they say that the banks will close on Friday and then not open, and one thing too, when my daughter was like, because my one granddaughter who has moved in with her, she misses her siblings who are in Spokane. One of them's in college and one's still living with the dad. And so she's living with her mom, and she misses them. And so she wanted to stay home from school and hang out with them. And she had missed school last week for being sick. And so both my daughters were very much like, no, they got to go to school. No, they got to go to school. And so my one daughter, who hung out with us the most, the one that's really good with boundaries, she said, I said, okay. Yeah. And she goes, I already know how you feel about schools. I already know you hate government institutions. I already know you think it's a prison, all this stuff. I'll go to the reference here. She'll pull up a text I sent. And so I said, yeah, but Jordan, just think about this. What if the school closes here, in June, when the school ends, and it just never opens again? September, nothing ever opens again. Because, I mean, they don't know the bankrupt government. I mean, who's going to pay the schools? Who's going to pay? It's already bankrupt. They've already got people coming out of saying that they don't know how they're going to pay. Their food, everything's getting cut. They're not going to keep schools open. They don't have the money for it. The institutions are closing. And so, but see, she doesn't know all that because they're not paying attention to the financial stuff. If you pay attention to the financial stuff, but you have to trust your instincts. You can't go out and listen to people talking crazy if you don't trust your instincts. And so, anyways, they haven't been following the money thing, so they don't know. And so I said, so in September, when they don't open, are you going to sit there and be like, damn it, I should have sent her that day. Oh, I'm so mad at myself I didn't send her that day. Are you going to see? And every time I would say anything about the education stuff, she would get frustrated or whatever. It's like, they don't understand, because they think that this is just going to fall back on them. Like everything is going to be like, oh, we have to grow our own food. We have to go out. We have to teach our kids, like everything. But it's like, no, this is going to be the start. They don't hear me on this part, but it's the start of a community, of real communities building. And that is why he is sitting there pushing out freedom. This is going to be the start of real communities. People don't understand that. It's like you can create like a tribe, a village, a place where people feel like they matter. And there is, there's a structure to it. And so there would be, like all the parents, hey, so and so knows how to, blah, blah, blah. Maybe if we all pay him, he would teach our kids, and there's going to be so many cool things that are going to develop. And of course, they use this one because my daughter, the social worker one, they have a family right now, and it's very abused. There's so much abuse out there in the world. It's so sad. And none of the kids know how to read or write. And it's like that is not what I'm talking about. We're not going to go back to that. I mean, as a parent, you teach your kids the basics. Like you start teaching them how to count. You teach them how to cook. You teach them how to read recipes. There's a process. You don't have to sit in a classroom and have somebody, holler at you for fucking hours a day and beat it into your head. It's hands-on. You learn. You just learn. And yeah, you may have to in the beginning, get your kids to learn how to read and write. And if you don't want to do it, just like you don't want to teach them to tie a shoe or whatever, there's certain things that are just part of it. And learning how to write your name. Most of the kids, there was a whole period of time, I don't know what the deal is now, but you had to teach your kids to read before they started school. They had to know how to read and write their name before they ever started school. And so we were already teaching them shit. And then we go hand them over to the school once they're ready to absorb the indoctrination. And so, parents just don't realize all the significant things that they do to teach their kids. And they are just, they're programmed themselves to think they need an education in order to become a full person. And no, you develop. And it's about skills and stuff. Plus, we're going into such a different world. It's going to be so different. I mean, I think we're going to have AI doing so much stuff that people are not going to be. I think it's going to be a lot more personal business of people, what they have to offer and putting themselves out there. Like when we were there at that pool, at that little our own private hotel, and the pool guy came in, and then once Stella realized, she keeps barking at him, and I'm like, hey, Stella, he works here. And that seemed like it bothered my daughter, and it could have bothered him, but to me, I'm like, that is fucking cool, man. Look at this guy's job. He just fucking gets to go around and go into people's pools, pour in some chemicals, do some sweeping, and that's his job. Like, that's what he gets to do, and he probably gets paid good for it because the people don't want to do it for themselves. It's like, fuck, be proud. This is my fucking job. Hell yeah, it's my job. I fucking worked hard to get here, too. And it's like, man, I think it's cool. I think it's impressive. And so it's all by perspective, it's all how we perceive. It's all how we prioritize. And it's all in, how we see things. Because it seemed like my daughter thought I was trying to embarrass him. Like, oh, you work here. Like, I'm not saying you work here like you're below me. You work for me. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm saying you got a fucking hella cool job. You get to fucking just walk around, go into people's yards and clean their pools. And it's like, I think that's pretty lucky. And anyways, it's all in how we see things. And everything is expanding, everything is changing, and how we see and how we perceive is all expanding. And and the biggest part too is taking responsibility for yourself. Is a big part of the challenge of the growth. And communicating with yourself, communicate with your old self, communicate with your newer self, your advanced and your younger. Really work on that communication. And it will help you. I swear to God. So anyways, I will talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Maybe I'll be more organized in my thing because it just feels like maybe that is just all the energy coming in. Maybe it's just because it was like a couple days of so much stuff and not getting to say it. And because I swear to God, I can just talk about a drive for a while. It was cool. It wasn't as much stuff like portal stuff, but it was like, oh, it was really cool. And there's so much communication. Like, I am telling you, if you are not communicating with them, just really, really start doing everything you can, because it is fucking cool. Like, they talk and talk and talk and talk, and they're just getting louder and louder. And they're showing, it's like they're this. I just can't recommend it enough and tell you enough. The supernatural, the spiritual, that world is your real world. And anything that you're doing is not a part of participating with that, is the illusionary world. And you get too caught up in the illusion, you forget who you are. And I think it's important to remember who you are and remember where you come from and keep on talking to them. So I'll talk to you later. Talk to you later. Bye.